All right, folks, welcome to D.C. Just got on the ground here in the nation's capital district, and man, capital punishment last night against the Raptors. The Atlanta Hawks reached into the record book and put themselves #2 in terms of points scored on the Raptors in a game. It was a tough performance. A lot of venting going on after the game, Eric, and you know, we talked about maybe Boston and the Paul Pierce incident being a tipping point. This is the tipping point.
Well,
now.
It better be, right?
Well, it is. The season's going to be. It's going to go in the toilet in the next 2 weeks, or it's going to start to turn around. And the irony, the coincidence of it is, they're 7-13, almost at the same 7-14 mark that team was a couple seasons ago when they turned it around.
And at the way this team is playing right now, I don't see that happening right now. I hope I'm proven wrong, but to me, the next 2 games. I mean, I said this 2 games ago. The next 4 games. Well, the
2 of them are gone.
The first 2 of those 4 aren't looking so good right now. But these next 2 games, to me, the difference obviously between coming home at 7-15 versus 9-13 is huge at this point. 9-13, excuse me, still isn't anything to write home about.
No, that's nothing to write home about.
But it's a heck of a lot better than 7-15. At 7-15, to me, there had got to be like wholesale changes coming if you're sitting at that record. And see, the tough thing is, and folks, you know from listening to me long enough and reading the blogs and everything else, I don't want to get into fantasy trades. I don't want to get into too much speculation, but it's worth mentioning at least at this point right now. I think if you're Brian Colangelo, if this team continues to slide, again, if they lose the next 2 and they're 7-15, hypothetically, Jonesy, what do you do? Because you've got your franchise player who's a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah, you don't know if he's your franchise player. Right. He may be somebody else's next year.
So you don't know if he's staying. And even if you go to him and ask for an answer one way or the other, will he give it to you? And if he does give it to you, is it now out there, much like the Toronto Blue Jays are facing with Roy Halladay, it's out there that, well, the guy's leaving anyway, so I'm not going to give you the farm for this guy. I'm going to try and lowball you with an offer. Now, if you can't really get a straight answer from Bosch, do you risk trying to make a move? And when we talk about moves, you're talking about impact moves and talking about rotation guys.
Yeah, this is the NBA. You don't trade the guys at the end of the bench. You trade meaningful people.
Hito Turkoglu's probably not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
Signed. Now, do you dangle a guy like an Andrea Bargnani to make a trade when you don't know what Chris Bosh is doing? You could lose Bargnani in trade, whether that deal works out for you or not, and then lose Bosh in 6 or 7 months from now as well via free agency.
Then you got neither.
So it's a tough call right now in terms of what you do to fix this team. Some people might say, oh, trade Jose Calderon. I know he's been the whipping boy for a lot of you out there. Well, you deal Jose Calderon, now you hand the reins over to Jarrett Jack. Okay, fine, if that's what you want to do. Well, who's your primary backup now? Marcus Banks. Okay, well, are you prepared for that? Or are you saying, no, but we're going to get a guard in return for Jose. So hold on a second. Now you're going to get a premier 2 or 3 for Jose, because that's what you need, and that's what you'd want most. Yeah. And you're going to get a quality backup guard as well. No, you're not going to get that. You got to be realistic about this. So that's why I don't like talking fantasy trades, because it's so difficult to make moves. And if I'm Brian Colangelo right now, Jonesy, I don't know what I do, because it's so muddled what the future may or may not hold.
And here's the thing.
Sorry, I went off on a fairway like soapbox there.
That's fine. We love you, Deacon.
I love you, Deacon.
We love you, Deacon. Here's the thing, though. You almost can't do anything until the waters kind of settle. And if they start to improve a little, you ride it. If it goes lower, then now people don't want to deal with you. They want to steal from you because they perceive you to be in panic mode, knowing you've got to do something. So it is a critical time in so many ways, in so many facets for this team. And tomorrow night's game against Washington will show me something about the heart of this team and how they intend to bounce back and how they intend to play the rest of the year. Because let's face it, last night was embarrassing. And as Jarrett Jack said in the locker room, it was embarrassing for everybody involved. What do they do about it now?
Big question, though, before we go. Maybe we'll address this again tomorrow in the actual game day vlog.
This is bonus, folks. You're getting bonus now.
Absolutely. You know, this is like, we should charge for this portion. When you look at Jarrett Jack's comments last night, when he says everybody's walking on eggshells, and I'm paraphrasing here when he says, you know, nobody's holding anybody accountable or whatever. I'm not sure who he's talking about. Is he talking about the coaching staff not holding players responsible and thus the coaches are walking on eggshells? Or is he talking about players not calling out other players and not being comfortable talking to their teammates? Or maybe it's both.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what he meant by that comment.
It was a bit of a catch-all comment, and I think it came on the heels of everybody should be embarrassed. But you know what? It starts, and we talked about it on the broadcast, the one word, leadership. And it's got to come. Players policing themselves is the best kind of leadership. And maybe it's the fact that there are so many new guys, and it's kind of like going out with a girl for the first time. If you don't like what she's wearing, you're not going to say it on the first date. But if she wears it like after 2 or 3 dates, the same hat or whatever, you feel comfortable enough to
that
say,
doesn't look so good.
Yeah, exactly. Now, maybe that's what the situation is in the locker room right now, and maybe somebody emerges from this as a leader. We know, in a sense, it's not going to be Chris Bosh, in that's not his style. He's not a verbal, kind of in-your-face type guy, but there are so many new guys there, nobody maybe wants to step forward and take that mantle. Maybe Jared Jack's the guy after his comments last night, and I think he was just throwing it out there, not to be purposely, ambiguous, but everybody walking on eggshells. And this speaks to the guys in the locker room. When some guy steps to you and says you're not doing your job, you can't be sensitive and go into a shell. You got to take that. You're getting a check. You're getting paid good money to do this. If you want to improve, diamonds are made under pressure. You got to take some of that.
Well, how do I go on the heels of that, Jonesy? I can just leave it at that. I feel like we're in Washington. I feel like that's an Obama-like speech, and the Jonesy with the emphatic punch to the hand as well. How do I top that? I'm going to leave that.
All right, folks. We'll have another one of these tomorrow on game day.